like to call to order this regular meeting of the Natural Resource Board, Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. We have one announcement before we get started, and we're going to have a moment of silence for Dr. Jeffrey Carrier. After a short battle with cancer, Jeff passed away, and we'd like to remember him with a moment of silence. Thank you very much for that. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Brugan?
Present.
Ms. Ware?
Present.
Mr. Kraus?
Present.
Mr. Stadelman?
Present.
Ms. Spillman?
Present.
Mr. Carano?
Present.
Mr. DeVell?
Present.
Thank you.
Can we get a motion for the approval of minutes for the last meeting?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 3rd, 2024 Natural Resource Board meeting.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have a second for that?
I will second it.
Thank you, Daniel. Can we get an aye vote for that approval?
Aye.
All in favor? Any nays? Minutes are approved. Does anybody want to say anything about Dr. Carrier? I could open up you some space if you'd like.
Well, I just want to say that he was a pleasure to work with, and we learned a lot from him, and we'll miss him.
Thank you very much, Donna. I got like 2 pages of stuff here, but we're going to just stick with the meeting. So we'll move on to item A, announcements. And on our announcements, we have, as announced at the previous meeting, Mr. Clifford has tendered his resignation from the board effective January 1st. As such, alternate member Mr. Paul Dovell will be voting during tonight's meeting. Are there any other announcements? Thank you for that. Move on to item 6, agenda modifications. Are there any agenda modifications? Not seeing any? Okay, we'll keep on moving through. Item number 7, public input. If anybody from the public would like to speak, go right ahead.
My name is Brent Wallenberg.
What is your name, sir?
Brent.
Brett?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir. Just to remind you have 5 minutes for
Okay.
public input.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say this is a nationwide problem. And with all I've been releasing blue crabs, at least 200 at our fish cleaning table. You know, Captain Hiram's and outrigger. And I can tell that fishing is Sebastian's bread and butter, so maybe we ought to make this an agenda. But anyway, I'll start with when good eating blue crab population is depleted, unwanted fish like hardhead catfish finish them off. One blue crab can have millions of babies and are not overfished. Calcium sand needs to be put in the bottom of estuaries so baby crabs can feed on barnacles that die after king tide. Like I say, king tide's coming in the end. We're going to have the lowest, and all them dying barnacles is what the babies is going to feed on. Now, I'm not just talking about Sebastian. I'm talking about from Chesapeake Bay to Galveston. So you can see that it's a nationwide issue. And here's what they should be like. Right here. You can see he's a pretty formidable creature. and he protects all your snook minnows and all your trout minnows. And when he's gone, the catfish and other things run amok. Your cormorant, north of here, there was thousands of cormorant, and I don't. With the blue crab coming back, I don't see any, because this guy will pinch him on the neck, and if he breaks his claw off, he'll stay on that neck, and make a believer out of him. But anyway, you can see having millions of babies that you can swing it in their favor, and what it is, larvae have a tendency of washing to shore. The wave is not like this; it's blown. It's on one side, and it constantly works things to shore. On the stick marsh, all your mosquito larvae end up in one pocket if it blows for a long time. It's the same way with crab larvae. Well, I was in Merritt Island the other day, and it's like the stingrays are waiting on the west shore for it all to blow in so they can wipe them out, because they know that if them little babies get to be this big, that he'll keep them in check. And like I say, I'm not talking just about here. And I realize, I hope everybody does, that fishing is still Sebastian's bread and butter. And if we can just doggone turn this boat around and get it going in our favor, what it is I've released at least 200 blue crabs around every fish cleaning table. And the catfish are raising their babies right now, and they're not going to leave the security of a free meal. And the blue crabs aren't going to leave either. So what they'll do is they'll be down there doing like this, feeding on the baby catfish, and hopefully by springtime we'll have flip things. Now, like I say, I didn't just start at this. I'm 16 years into it, and I definitely am kind of excited, and I hope I can get you guys excited too, because I used to come a long ways just to fish here for speckled trout, and they're gone. We bring them back, boy. You'll have to build new motels. Okay, well, I think I've kind of made my point. Like I say, we could talk forever, and like I say, I'm kind of excited about this. Or what it is, they removed all the calcium. This started out simple. It was a simple fix. I thought I'd go to my state rep and no problem. But a dump truck of calcium carbonate sand is $8 a ton at Blue Goose Mount mines. It wouldn't have took much to put the shell right back. But you got to remember, you make salt. An acid hits the base, makes salt. So, but anyway, like I say, I'm excited about this. I hope you guys will get excited too.
Thank you, Brett. If you ever want to put something on the agenda, feel free to contact the city clerk. Felicia would be glad to help you put something on the agenda, and we can always take it further from there.
Okay, like I say, you feel free to jump right in there if you got something, you represent 25,000 people. Don't let people not keep them in check.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming down, and I appreciate your time. Is there any additional public input? Is there anybody on Zoom?
I have one with their hand raised.
Okay, go right ahead. Hello, you're on Zoom.
Mr. Osborne, can you hear us?
Take it off mute.
Sorry, I just unmuted myself. Yeah, Citizen Ray Osborne here. And I just want to thank you guys for all the great work you're doing here. I was just going over some past issues here, and there was one issue here with a newspaper had talked about a company called Morning Star Fields with a chicken farm. And I was wondering if Sebastian had discussed this before and how it may impact our Indian River Lagoon area. And this is an article that was published by Timothy O'Hara in Treasure Coast newspapers. And he was talking about how the Department of Environmental had passed it, but there were some concerns from some other environmentalists that it might impact our particular part of the Indian River because of this chicken farm will be releasing a lot of course, chicken poop, feces chemicals and torrents inside the Indian River Lagoon. And I wondered if this had been an issue that had been discussed before, and I welcome your comments on that.
Is that all you have, Mr. Osborne?
Yeah, just for the time being, yeah. I'm interested in the whole agenda here, but if anything comes up, I'll certainly raise my hand.
Okay, would anybody like to comment on that? All right, not seeing any. Mr. Osborne, again, feel free to put something on the agenda if you'd like, and we can talk about it further. And we greatly appreciate your input and your participation. Feel free to come back
Thank you.
anytime.
All right, thank you.
Is there any additional public input? Anybody else on Zoom?
No one else has raised their hand.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to number 8, unfinished business. Okay, item A under unfinished business is the Sustainable Sebastian Initiative, and we're going to do champion selection for the next action plan. Basically, what that means that you're going to pick and choose one of the items out of the 6 that you feel that you can have the most impact and be able to actually work on and within our city guidelines and what the city wants to accomplish. And with that being said, I guess we can start at one end and come across because I'm sure everybody's got their favorites. Daniel, do you have anything? Oh, yeah, okay, we start down there. Daniel? Can you talk into the mic, sir?
I actually did it a little different. I actually picked from one from each of the categories. I didn't know how we were going to do this. But after you had said something and what I was asking December 3rd, I think our last meeting and stuff, was the food waste. So I had that as my number 1 because we were talking about human consumption and possibility of ag consumption as well with some of the local farmers. So I don't know if that was in section.
I think it's in number 2.
Number 4. So if we're going that route, I guess I would, since that's the food consumption in there, I would look at number 4. I'd like to look at number 4 and research number 4. If that's
would that be correct, Felicia? If that's what he wanted to do?
Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. So to kind of expand on this concept as we go forward and continue to talk about this, there will be so many tasks that will need to be accomplished that there may be a need for board members to champion certain tasks when we give you the full expanded tasks list that are under different initiative headings. So that's something to consider. So there may be a need for, say, a few of you to participate in a subcommittee of some kind, or a need for a few of you to participate together on the native landscaping or initiative number 6. So it can vary. So if you want to have a specific lead champion for each of the 6 initiatives, that is an option, but we will need a champion who can tackle each of the individual subtasks going forward.
Okay. Donna?
Okay, my first choice would be number 1 with reducing the reduction of single-use plastics and the education part of it especially. And I would like to add recycling with small businesses in the city as part of that.
Okay. How's that sound to you, Felicia?
You don't have to check in with me for feedback each time.
Gotcha.
I'm just going to be busy taking notes.
All right, Matthew, how are you doing?
So I have, if I had to pick one category, I guess I would pick number 3, because there's public polls under it, and I was the individual who sort of pushed for that. So that you could put me down for that one. At the same time, if you go to number 6, there are two educational programs. One was for noise pollution and one was for light pollution. And I guess I would want to work on those two also.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
All right, and that's under what Felicia was talking about. We would be doing multiple issues. We'll head down to the other way. Mr. Duvall?
Yes, thank you. So my first inclination is number 5. One of the reasons why I even wanted to participate in this board is I'm very passionate about anything water related. And, you know, the gentleman that came up and spoke about the crabs, you know, that really is something that I really relate with. And so that's something that I too have a strong passion for. So that would be my first choice. Second would be probably number 4 for the operational footprint.
Okay. 4. Okay, great. Fantastic. I like to see all the participation that we're doing tonight. Ms. Billman?
Well, I'm going to go back to number 2. We have a lot of unfinished business in that area, so I'd like to see that through.
Thank you very much, Ms. Billman. And we appreciate your continued support and your continued work on that. Mr. Carano?
3 and 5.
3 and 5?
Mm-hmm.
3 is provide recommendations for city policies. And 5 will be protect and restore water quality. Okay, looks like you guys are handling everything.
Take the year off, Charles.
You know, I'm gonna jump in on, of course, number 3, mostly for the predictive analytic part of it. I've been taking a lot of classes the last couple of years in machine learning, and so I think I can make an impact there. And I think I'll go back to also with Donna on number 1 for the single-use plastics, simply because that's what I've been working on. Okay, and again, there's so many different things here for us to work on. There's everything from the single-use plastics, native landscaping with Sharita. I'm sure she's going to need some help with invasive plants and different things like that. Update the tree protection ordinances, the food waste program that's going to be really innovative, things that we're going to be doing there. Developing the green infrastructure plan, and of course, increased marketing of city parks and green spaces. And remember, just because you're on 1 or you're on 4 doesn't mean you can't do 5 and 6 as well, because there's just so much to do. And each of us, as we go through this, if you are running up against a brick wall or you think you need more assistance, just reach out right away. Reach out to Felicia first, and then she'll send out an email, and you'll have as much help from the rest of the board as we can provide. So it's we're not going to be the Lone Ranger on these things. We're going to develop these as a team going forward.
I like the idea that you said, Felicia, about subcommittees. It'd be very important to get people together during the month, before meetings, you know, so that we can sit down and have more than one person sit down as a group and say, this is what we have to tackle this one, and we should work on this, break it up to little tasks, and begin to complete the tasks. So if you can set up meetings, you know, throughout the month, so we can, for each one of these, and, you know, maybe the people who didn't sign up to do that one would show up anyway, and because they're free, and help out.
Great idea, Tom. Does anybody have any other comments on item A, Sustainable Sebastian Initiative? This is our 5-year plan.
Yes,
And
I'd like to add, just for some of these, it involves going to other meetings. So obviously, if there's only one person on board with that, you need to have at least a backup person when it involves going to like planning and zoning or parks and recs or one of these other meetings that we should be attending to understand what they're doing. So I would definitely strongly suggest that we have a backup for each one of these, especially for the meeting part of it. Even if it's just, you just have to show up and take notes and then report back to the first person. Because all of us have busy schedules and we can't go to every single meeting there is all the time. So, just a suggestion.
Good idea. Do we want to make the seconds on these right now, or is that something we can do going forward?
We'll bring this back again, and then we'll have
Okay.
like a more expanded task list, so you can see each and every fleshed out idea and how we plan to move forward with it.
Excellent. Okay, that sounds fantastic. So we have our marching orders for the next 5 years. The last 5 years have been just really amazing. I think we've done a lot of great outreach. We've got some good work done, and we got a lot more coming up. Let's make an impact, guys.
2030.
2030.
2030?
2030.
2030.
Got it. Any other discussion on item A? All right, not seeing any. We'll move on to item B, the Christmas parade debrief. And if Ms. Felicia would like to debrief us?
Sure thing. I do actually have a small presentation. It was suggested at the last meeting to have some pictures of our Christmas parade and centennial celebration. So you'll get all of those photos in this presentation.
Uh-oh, you guys in trouble now.
Nope, it's on. Yeah. Yeah, I found the off switch, or the on switch. All right. So yes, our Christmas parade was Saturday, December 7th.
Hey, I wonder who that is.
Yeah. And just a disclaimer, I didn't take a ton of pictures in between us actually getting ready and everything, but I took what pictures I did take made it into this slideshow.
Everybody working hard.
And there is Mr. Mike Clifford, who unfortunately couldn't be here, working with Mr. Mike Barron, who was our driver that night. And some of these photos, I like to jokingly think that it's a Where's Waldo moment, because Sharida is in this photo, but you can barely see her. Yeah. Yeah, she found. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having technological difficulties at the moment.
Don't bewitch. Well, there's a motley crew, huh? Was this a scary Christmas?
And so at this point, we can save the centennial photos for when we go over our debrief of that. But if anybody would like to make any comments on how the Christmas parade went and what we would like to see going forward for next year's Christmas parade.
Matthew, do you have a few comments?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I asked the chair if I could have a couple of minutes. I actually did think about our parade, and I do have a few suggestions, and I will give the sheet when I'm done to you folks, and you can put it in the minutes, et cetera. So I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, maybe 5 minutes, and here's my pitch. I think if we wanted to have fun and participate, we succeeded. However, I think we can and should focus additionally on other activities. We are right in the middle. I didn't realize it, but right in the middle of thousands of our customers. And I think Brett mentioned with 25,000 people. We're right in the middle of them. So I would suggest that we park the float and that probably 4 of us, I'll be one, I'm happy to do it, take a clipboard and 3 questions and go meet our clientele, our customers, just to find out their opinions, what they see, do they even know that we exist, et cetera. I think it should be quick and dirty, but I think we should do it. I'm pretty sure my costume is Carter. It failed. I don't think anybody knew who I was, so I'm going to pass on the costume in the future. I do believe there should be 2 people on the float on both sides, and I think one should be handing out candy, and one should be handing out items to the adults. I didn't get that suggestion. It was given to me, so I stole it. All right? I would officially like our staff to ask that we be located at the same place every year for a parade. That's a perfect location. People are still excited, they're happy, they're not freezing, and by the time we're done, all the rest of the people have to done. So I think we should formally ask every year to be right behind the city council. I think we should think about email addresses or telephone numbers being shared. Felicia and I, in an amusing fashion, got left behind, and I certainly couldn't call any of you, but I know I screamed a few things at you folks, or towards you, but I didn't have any phone call to do it. So maybe in the future we have a couple of phone calls, etc. I think the lollipops are fine. I'd cut the Tootsie Rolls down. Some of those kids are 40 or 50 pounds. They're eating not only that big one Tootsie Roll, but behind us will be 12,000 other people. I'd hate to be their parents at the end of that evening. A 40 or 50 pound kid eats, 5 Tootsie Rolls, and they're going to be wired. I mean, it's just going to be something else. So, my suggestion is when we get to the park, we park the flatbed, we get out, we go meet our customers, ask them questions, and find out directly from them what their perceptions are, what's bothering them, do they even know we exist, et cetera. I'm going to make couple other suggestions. One, I think our seed packet should be stamped that it was donated by the Sebastian Natural Resources Board and should have our website on it. So the people who get them go to the website, and that's where we want to push them. And I guess that's it. I'm done chatting.
Could I add one more thing to that?
Yes, please
What I think might be another good option too is like whenever we're handing out like the seeds always get people excited. And maybe on the seed packet, if we can figure out a way to get it stamped well, to put the code thing that has all of the activities and all the different parks and stuff, that people can scan it when they get home, and it'll bring up all that information. So maybe on the seed packet on the other side, we can just put the UPC on there. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, QR code.
The QR code, thank you.
I think that as far as the stamp goes itself, you can get a stamp made that you don't have to keep hitting the ink pad. It's like a permanent stamp, and you just have to go 1, 2, 3. They cost a little more, but they do work better than the hand stamp method does with the ink pad.
Great ideas, guys. Seeing you doing your homework.
And also, I wanted to mention one other thing. In regards to the candy thing, this year we had originally planned to hand out a couple things that we didn't get in time. Of course, they came in after the fact, which would eliminate the candy completely. And so we got tattoos and also the gopher tortoise
Stickers.
stickers. They're really cute. So hopefully we can put an order in again, so we'll have a lot of them. And we'll definitely get one in for Earth Day, so we can have those, because people will come by the booth for that. And, but then we'll kind of get a little stockpile. So we won't be giving out candy anymore, but we'll be giving out little environmental kind of boosters. So with the tattoos, I think, they were gopher tortoises, I believe.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, so the kids would be getting the tattoos, and then the adults would be getting the sticker to put on the car. And that's what we did, what he said, that we were doing the children and adults. So the kids got the candy and the adults got the seed packets.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent suggestions. Make sure everything that you've talked about gets handed into Felicia so we can have a record of everything. I thought it was a great parade. I thought we got together as a team like we have every year since we've been doing this, and everybody worked hard, and we got our name out there. We spread a lot of joy. Next year I'll have a little bit better power source, and one was donated, but I called and he was already out of town. But everybody really liked the sound, I think. So I think that worked out a lot better than I thought it would. And we were there from beginning to end. So it was a great event for the city of Sebastian, and a good time for everybody. And I'd like to thank everybody for their hard work and their participation to make it happen. Is there any other comments on the Christmas parade?
Yes, I have one other thing I wanted to bring up. I mentioned to Felicia also about having a little bit more of a themed float where it was a little more put together, where we had, like, for example, instead of having like a hodgepodge of different trees, to have it to be more like, just do like 4 palm trees as opposed to 3 different ones or 4 different ones, to make it look a little bit more professional. You know what I mean? Also, I thought it would be nice to sort of have a little updated supply of decorations. So at the end of the year, I went to Walmart and I got some garlands and a couple other things that I think that we could like design what our float's going to look like before we get there and go like, oh, here's all these strings and stuff like that, to just kind of like stick things on it, but to make it look a little more professional and just have a theme to it. So that would be my personal preference. And maybe Donna, since you have an artistic eye too, to kind of look at what we had this year and how we can make it look a little bit more put together for next year. So we have all of our signs and everything like that, but I think we can do it to make it look a little bit nicer, is my personal preference.
Fantastic. Great ideas. There were no bad ideas tonight. It's all for making it as good as it can be. Is there any other comments on our Christmas parade?
I did just want to make one comment. I want to say thank you to Dan for, he provided for Christmas parade and then also for Centennial some Lagoon Loyal merchandise, which was helpful. And I think we ran out of the slap bracelets quite quickly. So I think those were a big hit, and that's another one of those environmentally themed items that is a big hit with the public.
Awesome. So we need more stuff to hand out that's themed for the natural resources and City of Sebastian, and we got almost 11 months to do it. Oh, for Earth Day. I was thinking about for Christmas. I was still talking about Christmas.
Okay, by the next meeting, if you need, if you believe you have to order anything, send Felicia a list because purchasing doesn't happen instantaneously.
Do we have any seat packets left?
We do, actually, yes. I couldn't give you an exact number, but I would say there's 20 to 50 packets left, maybe even more, possibly. But so I think
Definitely need that more of them for Earth Day.
we can certainly order more. I think, actually, no, I think we used up all the envelopes, so I'll have to order more of those as well.
Likewise, if you want to stamp them, make sure we get the stamps because that takes weeks too.
And so are you wanting us to go out and seek that stuff? Should we go to, because there's like, you know, we can go to the Florida Stormwater Association. They have all kinds of stamps and, you know, little trinkets and stuff like that. And we can go, I can go to Gainesville to Trio and stuff and try to get some stuff from them. And is that okay to get some more?
Define stuff.
Well, you know, the stamps or the stickers and stuff. Yeah, and I have no idea what you said I brought with that thing, what that thing was.
Oh, the wristbands?
I grabbed it. I knew sunglasses, but,
Well,
okay.
I know it has to be approved by the board.
Okay.
So whatever you get, if you
Okay.
can get a sample of it, get it in
Yep.
early enough, and so this way we can all agree
Okay.
on it. Then we can get it budgeted and purchased through the
Yeah.
city.
Okay.
Any other comments on Christmas parade? Okay, it was a great event. Thank you to everybody. We'll move on to item C, Centennial Celebration. It was a very busy week, wasn't it? And Felicia, if you'd like to debrief us with the Centennial Celebration?
So we'll go back to those photos from the Centennial celebration. And there are quite a few less at this particular celebration, but did get a few nice shots. We had the opportunity to meet Teddy Roosevelt that day, which is exciting. I don't know if we had another opportunity for board members to take a photo with Teddy, so that was kind of a unique moment. Thank you to all of you for helping out with that day.
That was quick.
Yes.
That's kind of was a kind of a one-off event, so we don't really have a whole lot left to discuss there. Thank you to everybody who came out and did your hour or two at the table. Thank you for helping set up, tear down, talk to everybody who come along. There was a lot of people there, and all day long people were coming by the table, and we had to answer questions ranging from parks to trails to fish and wildlife to and they were from everywhere. A lot of these people didn't even live here, and they still had questions. So again, I want to thank everybody who participated, everybody who helped out before, after, during, and it was a great centennial celebration. Happy birthday to City of Sebastian, and we look forward to doing whatever we can to make this the best place in Florida. Any other questions on item C? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to item D, the Great Air Potato Roundup, Saturday, February 8th. Miss Felicia?
Yes, so as we mentioned at the last meeting, staff is partnering with the Pelican Island Audubon Society to bring to life this air potato roundup. It will be held at Stormwater Park, also more officially known as the Stormwater Treatment Facility that's off of Engler Drive. And that park, unfortunately, in the northern regions of the park is pretty heavily infested with air potato. And the Pelican Island Audubon Society hosts their annual Great Air Potato Roundup in other areas of Indian River County, and we thought it might be wonderful to bring such an event to the city of Sebastian. So what I have in the agenda packet for you tonight is the save the date flyer with just a little bit of information about the air potato. If anybody's interested in helping to distribute this, please let me know. I'd be happy to either print out copies of it for you, or I can send you PDF copies as well. And I also have for you in your agenda packet the tentative schedule for the Natural Resources Board members that we would, if anybody is available that day to help assist. We need 1 to 2 people for each shift. Of course, we'd welcome more than that. And we only really need someone to stay for 2 hours at a time. However, of course, you're also welcome to stay all day if you so choose. The first shift, sorry, let me back up a little bit. The air potato roundup will have 3 shifts for the public to come and help remove the air potato. So there will be a 9 to 11 volunteer shift, an 11 to 1 volunteer shift, and a 1 to 3 p.m. shift. For any of the Natural Resources Board members that do participate in this event, we will kind of use you as a volunteer lead. So we'll give you specific tasks to help guide the rest of the volunteers through the process of removing the air potato from the park. And the beginning shift and the last shift have a little extra time tacked on there just for making sure everybody's squared away, making sure we have you ready to go at the beginning of the event, and then also for any assistance we may need with tear down at the end of the event.
Do you need to know that tonight? Or are we going to decide that at the next meeting?
We don't have to decide this tonight. However, I would say that we do need to know by the next meeting if you will be available and what time slots you would choose.
Does anybody know if they want to do it at this point?
Yeah, Felicia, I'll be there for the closing shifts, so like the 1 to 4-ish. Okay.
Felicia, I can make it at the start of the day.
And if you need 2 people at the start, I can do the start as well.
Then I'll do the afternoon. I can do the afternoon. I may stay the whole time. I kind of budgeted out, but things change with me. But I have committed, and I will commit to the afternoon, but I may stay the whole time as well.
So I don't have my telephone, I left it at home. So, but I would prefer an earlier time rather than a later time. So whatever time early would be better for me, okay? And I'll bring my phone next time.
Unfortunately, I have the Sebastian Art Tour that day, so I will be busy with that the whole day, so unfortunately I can't help. But I do want to make a quick suggestion. I have the Sebastian Charter School is definitely interested in doing this, and I sent them what you have here, but it doesn't have the times on it, and it doesn't have the shift information on it. So if you could add that to it and send it back to me, and then I can pass it along to the school. So, do they have to sign up through the
So we will have, to answer your first part of that, because this is just the save the date, we will produce a full event flyer with all the times on it, and I will definitely send that to you when that's ready. There will also be an online waiver that we will ask people to sign beforehand if they can pre-register ahead of time, but if they can't pre-register, then we will have paper copies on site. Now for minors, we would need a parent or guardian signature for that.
So I would need that ahead of time too.
Of course.
To the waiver form to send to the school. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions for the Great Mashed Potato Roundup? I mean, air potato? Okay, and remember, this is a volunteer event. If something does come up, just let people know, and everybody will do their best to do what we can. We'll see you out there February 8th. Okay, not seeing any questions. We'll move on to number 9, new business. And we have an actionable item here. We have item A, which is proposed framework for the Environmental Stewardship Awards Program. Felicia?
All right, so the Environmental Stewardship Awards Program was kind of born out of an idea brought to us by Mr. Matthew Krause. and he suggested that it might be a good idea to recognize individuals and parties in the community that are doing good work towards preserving and protecting our natural resources. So we've developed this framework that you'll see in your agenda packet. There's a page that contains all the basic information that we plan to include in the Environmental Stewardship Award. It would have 3 categories: one for a youth category for those under the age of 18, adult category for those over the age of 18, and a group category will focus on volunteerism, the innovation and creativity of their efforts, conservation and sustainability efforts, of course, the alignment with Sustainable Sebastian to see just what kind of impact they are making, the specific impacts of their efforts, what the environmental impacts are, what the socioeconomic impacts are. We'd like to also know if they face any challenges along the way and see if there is an ability to replicate those efforts going forward. We'll do this based on a grade everything based on a point system, so we'd have a full nomination or application form that would have to be filled out. We'll then go ahead and grade everything based on that point system that we develop. And the Natural Resources Board will have a hand in grading those applications that come in, and you will also help to choose any superlatives or sort of honorary awards that might be for anything that came in that wasn't necessarily point-wise your leaders on this, but may have had a very unique project that still really stood out to the board and is deserving of some sort of recognition. Tentatively, this time frame would be between, for the applications to be open for nominations would be between February 15th and March 15th. The applications would come in, the Natural Resources Board would go over them, judge them, determine the point values, and then we would tabulate the scores and have that available by the April NRB meeting, and we would officially recognize the recipients at the Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration. One of the things that is important to consider is that when we initially were developing this framework, there was the idea of naming it after someone who is a leader in their field and was sort of an icon in this realm of sustainability. Our initial idea after the passing of Dr. Graham Cox was to name it after him. This was also before we found out about Dr. Carrier's passing. And so if that is something that matters to the board as to who the individual is that the program is named after, there are some options that we can discuss as far as that. But our initial suggestion was from before we found out about Dr. Carrier.
And do you want us to make a decision on naming it and everything right now, or are we going to discuss this again?
We can open it up for discussion right now and then see if we do come to, ideally, we would, yes, decide who we'd like to name it after.
Okay, can I jump right in here? Because the time frame is totally I don't think we can do it, because I remember when I was involved with the Centennial and going to the schools with the poster contest and the coloring book contest, and getting into the schools is very time driven. You have to go through the board, the school board. You have to get them to approve it. Then you have to get them to put it in the backpacks. And time after time, you don't know how many times I went to these schools over and over and over again and saying, did you give out this? Did you, and it's very difficult to get that done in a 1-month time frame. You'd be better off looking at it, giving them an application, having them fulfill it out before school lets out, having them work on it over, whatever time frame. So, you got them in school, so that's a perfect time to get their attention. But there's no way you're going to get, you'll be lucky if you get 2 applications in a month. And you can go and talk to the people that worked on the posters, and you know how we had such a lack of participation in it's very hard to get them to spend the time at the schools to even explain anything or hand anything out. So it's an uphill battle, it really is. So we won't be able to do it in this time frame for this year, for April. I just don't see it happening. I think that we have to plan it and we have to publicize it and we have to do it over and over again. And like if every opportunity that we are out with the public, we have to bring it up. That's my.
So you're thinking about maybe not doing the award for this Earth Day, but possibly for next Earth Day. Does anybody have any comment on that?
Well, if I look at this, people are applying for this. We're not seeking them out. They're applying to us. And then we review the applications, and from the applications we receive, we choose. So there's nothing for us to do other than to review the application.
No, we have to get it to the schools.
No, we don't. It'll be up to the individuals to apply.
Well, how are we publicizing it? It has to be publicized. You're just going to put it on the website and think they're going to do
Well,
it?
isn't the ELC doing that?
This is not the ELC.
So,
This is us. This is us. We're doing the work.
so maybe I
Wait,
can,
one at a time. Mr. Carano, are you finished?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Go
to
ahead,
cut him
that's
off.
quite all right, go right ahead.
So, it is a self-reported kind of thing. There are people in the communities, 25,000 people who are probably doing exceptional things that we don't know about. I mean, they just, even if it's small things or you know, tremendously large things, we just don't know that. So it gives them an opportunity to report it and to get recognition, et cetera. I do agree with Donna, that is too short a time period. The 15th of February is like a month away, and I think I just think that's too short a thing. Maybe we announce it at the Earth Day celebration that this is what's coming, and then go from there. Maybe that gives a better time, more time, and a better opportunity to sort of block it out and publicize it. So maybe that's a possibility. And I do think we should name it after somebody. There are people, I don't know, I have never met the two doctors who passed. And, you know, I think that, you know, naming an award after somebody who's done a great deal in this community regarding environmental issues is a way of recognizing them. People will know, oh, that Dr. Jones is, you know, got an award named after him, and they're going to. So I think that is important. It doesn't, you know, I think it adds to the process. So.
Great input. Let's continue with that. And is there any input down here? Mrs. Billman, Mr. Dole?
I'm also okay with naming it after Dr. Cox. I think he's worked his whole life on this, you know, so I think that I mean, as much as I worked with Dr. Carrier, I think Dr. Cox is well known in the community, and I think that.
Well, Dr. Cox was a longtime resident
Yes,
and
yes.
environmentalist.
Okay, is there any additional input? Okay, so it sounds like we got a couple things to do here. First, it's an actionable item, so we have to decide if we're going to do this at all. That would be the first thing. So if we can get a motion to approve the framework for the Environmental Stewardship Award as it sits with the name of the Dr. Graham Cox Environmental Stewardship Award, if we can get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion for that.
I would second that with the only change being the time frame, that we're not going to accept everything that's laid out here.
I think we can adjust the specifics once we get it approved.
You can probably include it in the motion as the statement saying I make a motion to approve the framework for the environmental stewardship report, accepting the time frame.
Okay,
Except for
let me change my motion. I'll take back that motion. A new motion to approve the framework for the Environmental Stewardship Award with an exception for the time frame and keeping the name Dr. Graham Cox Environmental Stewardship Award. Time frame to be determined at a later meeting. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
And with an approval of yay to approve.
Yay.
Yay.
Any nays for not approving? It passes unanimously. We'll work on that going forward. Okay, we have, let's see. We still have some new business. Item B, we will do Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration on Saturday, April 26, 2025, and some preliminary plans.
All right. Yes, this is our big ticket item for this season. We are quite in full swing for planning of the event. A couple things that you should know that are listed here in the agenda packet. As we previously worked with Orca on the Living Shoreline event, we are continuing this partnership with them to install a buffered shoreline along that area where the oyster reef balls were installed. And this, of course, will help to mitigate any stormwater that ends up in or headed towards the lagoon, and will hopefully help to preserve the quality of our water going forward. And this will be a volunteer event. Times will be determined, but this will be, there should be about 4 volunteer sessions throughout the day. So if that's something that the board members are interested in, then you may be able to have a window of opportunity away from the hullabaloo of the park festivities to take some time and join the planting itself. And I know that's something that has been on the board's mind in the past couple of years and has been brought up before, that we'd like to see some sort of ambassador animals come to the park. And fortunately, the Florida Wildlife Hospital has agreed to join us and bring some of their ambassadors with us for this event. So it'll be quite exciting. We haven't seen that, I think, at an Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration in quite some time. And Alexis Peralta of the Inyo County Natural Resources Department has agreed to return to do the chalk art contest. Now, being that the chalk art contest is going to be located, or excuse me, being that the buffered shoreline project is going to be located in that kind of area where they typically would set up, and based on feedback from Alexis Peralta, will be moving their location to a different spot. So that way they both projects have their space to function during the event. And as part of our entertainment lineup for this year, Heather Stapleton is going to be joining us, and she'll be doing a reading of the Lorax from the stage. So that will be very exciting and a new little element of the show. And we do already have a few people who have applied for being vendors, including but not limited to the Environmental Learning Center, and the UFIFAS Master Gardeners are already on our list. And I have had some other inquiries from Coastal Connections and some other organizations who are looking to join us.
And are we sending out applications for food trucks and all the other?
That's correct.
Thanks, vendors. Okay. All right. And does anybody here want to be MC this year?
So
asking.
that is something that we do need to discuss, is that part of developing our timeline for the actual day of itself, we were considering the possibility of having multiple board members do shifts as the master of ceremonies for the event. So we'll have, maybe 2 to 3 people at the booth during the event. We'll have, like, say, 2-hour time blocks, and then we'll also have maybe a 1 to 2 hour time blocks for somebody to be up on stage and guiding the entertainment process.
Does anybody want to speak up on stage? I would like to still be master of ceremonies, if possible. I still have my notes and everything, and if anybody else wants to participate between now and then, it's gonna be April 26th by the time you gotta really make up your mind. So, but yeah, count me in as MC again for now, and whoever else wants to partner up.
Mr. Chairman, I'll volunteer to do that. I've done public speaking before, and it's probably time for me to pitch in that venue. So you can put me down. Give me a shorter stint to begin so that I get my butterflies off and et cetera. I did have one other question though regarding the animals. Can you explain that to me one more time? So they're going to bring animals to our table and
So the Florida Wildlife Hospital will have their own booth and tent set up at the Arbor Day celebration, or Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration, just like, most of the other vendors do, except for the fact that they will bring a couple of their ambassador animals. They would be animals that they were previously unable to release for whatever particular reason, and those animals end up serving to help educate the public on what can happen when animals are seriously injured and the repercussions for not being able to release wildlife back into their homes. So we will locate them in a spot that is ideal for them in the park, but they will have them at their own booth, and it'll probably, some of the examples of what I've seen the Florida Wildlife Hospital bring to events, occasionally they'll bring small bird species, they'll bring maybe some reptiles, some snakes or some turtles. It just depends on whoever they happen to have right now as their ambassador animals and who they're willing to bring to the event this
And it's
year.
not a touch and feel thing. You're not touching them.
so that was, thank you for bringing that up, because that was my next question, and the reason I brought that up, when we had butterflies at our booth, that drew more attention than us saying hello and handing out, everybody wanted to see the butterflies. And so I would like to have some of those animals at our booth. I think it'll draw more people, even if it's a gopher tortoise that's not going to really perform very well. I mean, I'm not going to do backflips or anything. So either that, or could we please be located next to them so that they'll draw people. People love animals. They want to go see them, what kind of animal, et cetera. And then we get the overflow, if you will. So if we can't have any animals to touch, could we please be as close, right next to them if possible?
I'll definitely look into that, especially whatever they provide me as feedback for what they would prefer their location to be. My main concerns when it comes to their location is making sure the animals are comfortable and safe, and there's not anything that's going to be detrimental to them. So, and based on, I don't know if you recall from this previous Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration where the NRB booths were located, that was tentatively what I was looking at for the board's location again this year. However, if there's a different location suggestion that anybody would like to make, please let me know, because we haven't gotten to the mapping stage yet. And it would be useful to have that information well in advance.
And one other thing,
Billy?
Felicia, I'll make sure I'll have butterflies available.
Wonderful, thank you.
And I don't do them in the winter, but in the spring and summer, I'll get them going, so.
And can I make another suggestion about the food vendors? Because that was one of the sore points of last year's. Maybe if we got the list of food vendors and all of us took 2 or 3 of them to contact, so it takes it off Ron's plate and your plate, or if we know people that have food trucks that we can personally ask, because that was disappointing last year. And I think that you need more help. The city needs more help with that. So if we can do it, I think we can break it up. It'll go better.
Yeah, I can absolutely send you the list of prospective vendors that we've had from previous years, and I have some food trucks on my list from previous years that I had reached out to, in 2023 and 2024 that didn't end up joining us for the event, but perhaps, if, you all make an effort, maybe we'll have more of them who are willing to turn out for the event.
In addition, we are also sending out the request for applications and all of that earlier this year, much earlier in advance, so that way we can program much more in advance, which I think will help with the food vendors and the food trucks. So there's been a lot of, Felicia and I have worked behind the scenes to kind of vet some of that out and figure out where can we have some more lead time. And so that was one of the areas that we looked at.
Okay, great. A lot of good ideas. We got a couple of months of planning ahead of us. It goes by really super quick, just to let everybody know. Does anybody have any other comments or questions about Earth Day, Arbor Day celebration? Okay, it's Saturday, April 26th this year.
I
Put it
do
on the
have a
calendar.
question. I do
Yes,
have a
sir.
question. I haven't been to an Earth Day here. I'm just curious, do you guys send out little, well, I guess it's the seeds. Somebody must be passing out a lot of seeds for Earth Day, but do they also do trees?
Actually, the Pelican Island Audubon Society typically joins us, and they typically bring, I don't know how many trees they would bring this time around, but I think for Centennial, they brought over 75 trees, and they gave away, I think they said 50 or so of them. They gave away a good number of the trees at the previous Centennial event.
Okay. And the other thing is, I didn't know the gentleman, but I talked to the bee people right next to our booth and that would be kind of interesting. You're talking about the butterflies. Bees are obviously very important to nature and stuff like that, but maybe, I forgot the gentleman's name, but maybe contact him to see if he's actually got a beehive that showcase, bees working in action and stuff like that. I don't know if that's been at the Earth Day parade.
It may not have been, you're referring to Centennial, correct?
Yeah, the Centennial.
I think we were next to Indian River Bee Company, and I think there was another bee company that was, or another honey company that was at the previous Earth Day celebration that might have had a display hive.
Okay.
So we can certainly look into that.
Great suggestions from everybody, though. And again, this next month, we got our next meeting coming up. Please write down your ideas and call them into Felicia or bring it to the next meeting, and let's make this the greatest Earth Day, Arbor Day celebration we've ever had. Any additional comments on Earth Day, Arbor Day? Okay, not seeing any. We got one more final item, our annual selection of the chairperson and vice chair. It is an actionable item. And we need a motion for chairperson.
I nominate Charles Edelman to stay chairman.
I second that.
Is there any additional motions for chairperson?
It was Mr. DeVell.
You're welcome.
Okay, with the aye selection for yes, it's a voice vote. Can aye for yes?
Aye.
Any nays? I appreciate that responsibility, and I do accept that responsibility. And do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Thomas for vice chair.
I'll second that nomination. With an aye vote for approval? Aye.
Aye. Can I just make one suggestion? It would be nice if, my preference would be that we describe the person as chair, not chairman.
I've been saying chairperson.
Yeah, or just chair is an acceptable
What
term. I know it's.
What would be the proper way of saying that?
Chairman is fine.
Well, he just wants a chair. He just wants to call it chair. I've been calling it chairperson, and I think I think there is a second adverb or whatever that does describe it.
My preference would be, we have. I'd like to attract more women to belong to the organization, and thing.
That's actually
where
why
it-
I've been saying chairperson too.
yeah.
You're right.
So I just, chair or chairperson, but not chairman. I like it to be friendly towards our female
I agree.
citizens, so.
Okay, let's finish up with the nomination for Tom. Is there any nays? Not seeing any. Mr. Vice Chair?
Thank you.
And we'll move on to item 10, items for next agenda and date. Our next meeting is Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. First item on that list is going to be our Sustainable Sebastian, development of the next action plan. 2 will be the final preparation for the Great Air Potato Roundup event. And then 3, our big event of the year, Earth Day and Arbor Day celebration with our co-master of ceremonies this year. Is there any questions on any of those items for next agenda?
Can I ask a question as far as the first one, our next action plan? So are we going to have more goals added to this, or is this what we're sticking with? Are we supposed to come prepared to give you more, or how's that work?
So from this list and from our previous discussions, I have been expanding on developing the kind of green and brown sheet that you were familiar with from the previous iteration of Sustainable Sebastian. So I'll take everything, really create proper verbiage for all the goals and all the tasks that will go under that. So you will see a little bit of an expansion from this current list. And I do ask that once that list is put out, that you all have it, that if you give it a read over before the meeting, and that way we can have a thorough discussion of the elements included.
Does anybody have anything they want to add to the next agenda? Anybody have any other additional questions for any of this that we just spoke about?
Actually, can I just do one quick thing? Alicia, any word on how things are going with the Garden Club Park?
Yes. So the procurement process has been a bit longer than we had initially expected. So we have finally received all of the information that we need. And so now it's up to staff to finally deliberate on how we can move forward with the actual procurement of the plants and our timeline. I think the timeline is going to be a limiting factor in this. Right now we are, between now and the end of February, we're still kind of in that frost period. So it may be difficult to proceed with a planting project during that time. But after that point, the door opens up to us significantly, but we still need to have that internal discussion before we can provide you with any further information.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for your confidence in making me the chair for the next year. Greatly appreciate that. I look forward to working with Tom as closely as possible, especially when I can't talk straight. And I'd like to thank everybody for their hard work, Felicia, Alex, Janet, Joseph, and everybody who makes this happen. Remember, we are here at the leisure of the City Council, and we are here to support the City of Sebastian be the best place that it can be. With a motion for adjournment, we can adjourn this.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
An aye for approval?
Aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.